distinction. That the empowerment is in the loving, not in the knowing. Now, it's this, I think, which marks one of the major breaks between Greek thought and Christian thought. Because you've noticed it, and I've noticed it in your papers as you've written about the Greeks, that in various ways they seem to say that we're ruled by reason, the rule of reason in the moral life. There are some readings of Plato, I think lopsided and mistaken, some readings of Plato that say if you know what's good, you'll do what's good, as if it's automatic. Well, I don't think it's automatic in Plato. But for Plato, it's not, however, a matter of free choice of the will, as it is for Augustine. This is the major difference, I think, in those regards. In moral philosophy, the major difference, the role of the will. And he's pushed in that direction because of the implications of the gospel. Now, the second area of major difference, incidentally, on this first one, it becomes apparent that Augustine shares Plato's concern about the improvement of the soul. You think that Augustine shares Plato's concern about the improvement of the soul. Very much so. The same kind of thing. In fact, he argues in one place that Jesus Christ brings to fulfillment all of Plato's philosophical hopes. And says in another place that if Plato were a Christian today, no, take it back, if Plato were alive today, 400 AD, he would become a Christian. Simply because his philosophy was leaning so much in that direction. Okay, now the other area of problem that he sees is in the Neoplatonic notion of emanation. You know that outflowing from the one which is the good of all other things. Such that there is an inner determinism within the being of the one to, as it were, emit from within its own being not only the nous and the world soul and other intermediary beings, but as well finite souls coming out from the world soul and everything emanating from the one. Now that bothers Augustine, and in our language he begins to see quite clearly the difference between pantheism and theism. Between a pantheism which sees things as a result of emanation, and theism which sees things as a result of being created out of nothing. Not out of God, but out of nothing. Ex nihilo. His objection to emanation is several-fold. Some of his remarks seem to be more satirical, rhetorical, but they seem to have a point in them. He says, for instance, that if the theory of emanation is right, then when an animal is butchered, part of God is being slaughtered. And when a naughty boy is punished, a part of God is being whipped. It would mean that parts of God are lewd, wicked, dirty, and so forth. If that's the case, then God is not altogether the good. I don't think it takes much imagination to see how Plotinus would respond to that. That you're not talking of parts of God, you're talking of emanations out of the divine being suffering from privation of being. Therefore, privation of form, privation of ordered unity. And you account for the evils in that way. But on the other hand, Augustine objects to the notion of intermediary beings. And you remember in the Middle Platonism, certainly in the earlier Neo-Pythagoreanism, also in Philo of Alexandria with the Middle Platonism that he adopted, there were, in addition to God, the One, and the Logos, a whole hierarchy of intermediary beings, angelic beings or whatever. Angelic beings in Philo's thinking, other deities in the thinking of pagan Middle Platonists. And some of this carries over into Neoplatonic thinking, according to Augustine. And he is troubled by this, that in order to influence us, his creatures, God has to work through all these intermediary beings. Isn't the Christian story that God acts directly? What about the incarnation? Isn't that a direct presence of God in his creation? Now, part of what else is involved in those intermediary beings and the theory of emanation is the fact that all of the intermediate beings are inferior to those above them in the hierarchy. So the nous is inferior to the one, God. The world soul is inferior to the nous, the Logos. So you have a hierarchy of increasingly inferior beings. But that doesn't fit the Christian understanding of the Trinity. You see? The Trinity, which is trying to say, not that, and you remember the Nicene Creed? Not that Jesus is of a similar substance, though inferior, but of the same substance as the Father. Do you remember the Arian controversy? We mentioned it as growing out of the Alexandrian Christianity. The tendency was to say that the Son is heterousios with respect to the Father. Heterousios meaning of a different nature, of a different being, of a different essence, of a different substance. And that would have made the a similar nature, a similar substance, homoousios. And the debate at moios, similar, heteros means different. You see? This is sometimes called the battle over an iota. But the iota makes it a totally different thing. You see? Now, they were trying to say that Jesus is fully God, as well as fully man, of the same substance as the Father, homoousios. Now, that was Nicaea, 325. 325. Augustine, writing 3/4 of a century later on, and by the time he got to writing on the Trinity, it was 3/4 of a century, he wrote 15 books on the Trinity. Not 15 volumes, but 15, whatever, scrolls, I presume, on the Trinity. And he insists in trying to spell this out in response to Neoplatonism with its intermediary inferior beings. He insists that what this means is that the Son is co-equal with the Father and co-eternal. Chalcedonian formula, the Chalcedonian creed in, what was that, 451? Or was it 453? I can never get that. Everything. What happens to free will? But on the other hand, if God creates ex nihilo out of nothing, then the inner dynamics of God's inner internal being, finally, that reason is sufficient to rule the life. Because if we're of the very being of God, then human reason is part of the divine reason. Human reason is a finite manifestation of divine reason if we're part of the being of God by emanation. And it's in the self-understanding of human reason, therefore, that we would gain the truth. Is to start asking himself about the relationship between reason and revelation. Authority. And the essential, or if you like, the ontological ordering in the very nature of being itself. Now, chronologically in our experience, chronologically in our own experience and thinking, it's always authority that comes first. After all, the things that our knowledge starts with and builds on are the things we learn from others who tell us. Parents, whatever sources. And in knowledge, and our reasoning takes off from there. Faith, that is to say, in the very nature of reality, this is an ordered, rational, intelligible universe created by a rational, intelligent deity. And in that sense, reason is first. And it's because of the rationality of God, the rational universe, that there is authority at all. And that the authority can precede reason in us creatures. So an interplay of reason and authority that's going to affect his epistemology. And understanding is faith's reward. It's faith. Faith is understanding's step. That's the chronological sequence. And as a result, understanding is faith's reward. That with that believing, then all sorts of understanding begins to open up. Further implications follow. Well, that's my initial picture of Augustine. Let me pause there and measure, as it's called, that evil is a loss of order, of ordered unity, harmony. And inasmuch as ordered unity is a product of form, evil is a failure to participate as fully as we could in form. It's a loss of form, privation of form. Inasmuch as a thing's essential being is measured by the form, evil is in measure privation of essential being. Now, in all those regards, things are created out of nothing. And since they're created out of nothing, they have a tendency to return to nothing. Why does an apple rot? Created ex nihilo? If it loses its form, what's going to happen? Back to nothing. So, for natural evil, he's thinking of, to the effect that all natural evil and human proclivity is built into our nature as a, so as to create the necessity for that kind of discipline, which will build not just Greek courage, but faith, trust, and love, and hope into the backbone of the human soul. Soul-making theodicy. I suspect there's some combination of the two, but he makes a clear distinction between natural and moral evil than Irenaeus says. Yeah. Do you, will probably therefore be next time, to talk somewhat more systematically about how he develops the theory of forms, how that shapes his epistemology, how it affects his thinking about the nature of the soul, okay, why he claims that God is timeless, topics of that sort that are part of his philosophical contribution. Okay, on the nature of the good, look at chapter 1. The highest good than which there is no higher is God. Consequently, he's unchangeable good, hence truly eternal, truly immortal. What is of him is himself. If he alone is unchangeable, all things he's made. Because then chapter 2, the beginning, for the sake of those not being able to understand that all nature, every spirit, and every body is naturally good. Every body is naturally good. That's an interesting emphasis that we wouldn't think of making today, that he finds it necessary to make for obvious reasons. Every spirit and every body is naturally good. But all nature, every spirit and every body is moved by the iniquity of spirit and the mortality of body. You see, that's where the changes occur. The failure of will, every spirit, and the mortality. Good, measure, form, order, four synonyms. Good, synonyms, yeah, they mean the same thing. Saying ordered are assuredly good in a high degree. So degrees of good, degrees of form, order, unity. In chapter 4. When it's inquired whence is evil, it was first being inquired, what is evil? Nothing else than corruption of measure, form, order. Evil is a corruption of good. Okay, or of measure. Talks about watching cockfighting, and talks of the beautiful movements of those bodies, even when engaged in. Chapter 8, from the corruption and destruction of inferior things is the beauty of the universe. The rest of things that are made of nothing, physical things, assuredly inferior to rational soul, can be neither blessed nor miserable, but in proportion to their fashion and appearance, they're good, nor can there be good things in a less or lesser degree. To things falling away and succeeding, halfway to the end of the paragraph, a certain temporal beauty belongs. Temporal beauty, yeah, this morning I was looking out of my study window at home to our maple tree towards the back of the yard. The maple tree which... from which the leaves were literally falling. There was a thin carpet of leaves of various shades of yellow, orange, and gold. And the leaves on the tree, a magnificent picture. Utterly beautiful. But they're dying. It's in their dying that the order of nature reveals such beauty. You get the point? So even that which is a privation of form is part of the form and overall order of beauty. Oh, we would make such change impossible. We would make such beauty impossible. Only God is immutable. Only God is immutable. Now we're all of us biodegradable, every one of us.